Hello, this is Dr. Whoooeeooo. Yes, we are together to review Doctor Who, the classic Who, and do a book report and a episode comparison contrast and our likes and dislikes. And so let's see. Let's go over to. Well, let's start off with. Who wants to lead off about the televised episode? All right, Philip, go ahead. You're smiling big.
No, I was waiting for somebody else. Okay, fair enough. What do you want me to say? Well, okay, I more or less finished watching it about an hour ago, completely. I found it very entertaining. It's very good on being a personalised journey kind of episode, because everybody's got a personalised journey throughout the story. And the Daleks have done well. I found the Daleks in this a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Vocal. They're more rounded characters as Daleks, as opposed to down the line they get just very monotone and very one directionish. This is like the Daleks being a community, and it's quite good to see that in that. I felt Susan a little bit over the top sometimes, and it was quite nice to see her laugh when Ian mentioned whether there's someone inside the Dalek, and she laughed as if to say that there are men controlling those Daleks inside. But that was funny. The overall story is a nice little epic, and I think it's one of the best Dalek stories ever to date, really. And that's all I've got to say about it for now.
Cool. Connor, how about you?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Philip said. I agree with him particularly on the everyone seems to have a story, you know, because usually, particularly in Peter Davison's era, when there was 3 companions, it was difficult to juggle screen time for them all. But here, because it's so long, it's 6 parts, they find a way to make everyone at least have a bit of a story, and it's enjoyable. I do agree with the argument that it may be a bit long. There are a few filler scenes, as you would call them. It can always be condensed. There are ways you can condense it, but it's a great story, one of the best of Hartnell's. It really is one of the best of Hartnell's, actually, particularly from the first season as well, which is such a strong season anyway. Susan is over the top, but you know what? I like that, because that's what makes her Susan. You know, she is a great companion because she's over the top. And it's sort of, with it being all black and white and grainy and all, it's sort of terrifying when you hear her scream. Like when she confuses the human hand thing, which is an important plot point, I would say. The scenery of the episodes are just great. You know, the city is really futuristic for the time. You have the petrified jungle, which is one of my favourite all-time locations in Doctor Who. It just looks so great when you've seen William Hartnell walking around examining all of the petrified plants and the metal chameleons and whatnot. It really is such a great story. Yes, I don't really have any criticisms apart from maybe it can be condensed to just a bit, but it's not really that much. It's just a few filler scenes here and there. It's action-packed. It's epic, as Philip said. Yeah, it is really just a great story, I think.
Cool. Jason, what do you think?
Definitely an interesting story. The first time I've seen this is way back in 2007. Even way back then, it was definitely an interesting watching this, how with the characters and stuff and the Daleks, and there's like the way the Daleks were way back then. It seemed more like there was, what's that word? Experimental in a way, experimenting Ian and Barbara, and with them suffering the radiation, having radiation sickness, the doctor and Barbara. I think it was more like Ian didn't have much of it, Susan very less of it, so Susan had to step up. So with all running around and there's like thunderstorm scenes and all that, and whole meeting the Thals, and with the Thals, they didn't want to fight, but they would try to convince them and all that. And so, yeah, interesting background, definitely an interesting scene, and definitely seeing how Ian had to go inside the Dalek. Remember that, Paul. Also with Ian, who was attacked by the Dalek with one of the weapons, would paralyze his leg for about just a little while. But yeah, other than that, it was definitely a great story for the beginning for the Daleks.
Cool. Harry, what did the book? What was? Do your book report now?
Okay.
First of all, show the book. Show the book really close to your camera. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the book is very different. It is one of the first 3 novelizations ever done for the show. All 3 done from the era of the first Doctor. The book was originally published 1964, so we're talking very early. The book is entirely done first-person perspective of Ian's, and it has a completely different opening for how Ian and Barbara ended up on board the TARDIS compared to an unearthly child. Ian is still addressed as a school teacher, but Barbara is a former secretary who is now a tutor to Susan. And as of an accident, that is when they stumble across the TARDIS and the Doctor. The TARDIS is referred to as a ship. It's not called TARDIS, not as the TARDIS. The Doctor is referred to as Doctor Who. As I said, the whole story is done from Ian's perspective. So it's a lot different than what you get in the TV show. Nothing against the broadcast version, which is very good, but as I said, you get a lot different perspective from Ian, who gives a lot of explanation about what's going on, how he feels about it, in fact, he says, this is at first all an illusion. It's basically being set up in a great big basement somewhere and made to think that you're on board a spaceship of some sort. Whitaker did a very good job on it, and I'd say if you get a chance, you pick up the book, you'll find it very interesting to read.
Thank you, Harry.
Harry, can I just ask, in the book, does it mention a glass Dalek being the Emperor?
No glass Dalek mentioned.
Well, where can I read about a glass Dalek then?
If there was a glass Dalek anywhere in the series history...
No, but in that book you're mentioning, I'm sure that there's one odd Dalek, it's a glass Dalek. I'm not sure whether that's true or not.
Revelation had what we call a glass Dalek.
No, I know it's not that. It's from that book. I'm trying to think about where I read it or seen it.
I'll have to skim through it, but I don't recall any mention of a glass Dalek in it because it's all told from Ian's perspective.
Okay.
Okay, the DVDs, the story is it's really rich. Like the story comes from the right after the cavemen and they just started traveling together. Okay, let me break in here. Alex, could you talk about the televised or the book version of Daleks, please?
Yeah, the televised version I really like, especially the cliffhanger with Barbara in trouble, and then the way that they also came into the city. And I remember Ian's conversation with the Doctor and Barbara and that's what I immediately remember. And it's a very good story, and it's a very good setup, which is one of the things I liked about Classic Who, and the way they explain the history and all that. So, if I knew exactly when it was coming, I'd watch it again on the web or on Netflix or whichever, because it was a very good story, and it's one of the few that I like from the first Doctor.
Thanks. So I I kind of liked Susan a little bit in the Cave of Skulls in the previous episode, but when in Daleks, she is amazing. She meets the Thals. She involves the Thals in the lives of Ian and Barbara, and she tries to smooth over and get them their food and get them what they need, and she fails miserably because she allies herself with the Daleks. She's the first one to fail in thinking that the Daleks could be reasoned with and trusted, and trusted, and she was so by her very presence in the world of the Daleks, she was actually used by them to try and destroy the other life on the planet, because they wanted to bomb the city and the planet again with another neutron bomb or some neutron bombs or something like that. Apparently innocent, definitely evil. The way that Barbara in danger scene that Alex mentioned, oh my gosh, that was like amazing. That was such amazing TV. Pertubis and character, and like, wow, she was like under attack. It was pretty amazing. And their little forms, this little guy became so evil. Oh my gosh, throughout the course of the story, went from peaceful, strange alien life form, everything okay, to, for this guy, to the terrifying scene that they were on, the absolutely evil creatures that they really are. So anyway, just interesting. Glad that we got to review it. And anybody have anything else to add?
I can say that the sets are very beautifully done. A lot of money must have gone into making such detailed sets for that particular serial. There's quite a lot of money spent on that, so it makes it more worthwhile.
Sidney Newman was a bit upset when Daleks first appeared. He had a very much thing about no bug-eyed monsters. But his opposition to the Daleks quickly evaporated once the ratings started coming in, showing how popular they were and how much the kids loved the creatures. So his opposition to the Daleks quickly evaporated.
So
an interesting perspective on how this story was made was actually in Mark Gatiss's An Adventure in Space and Time, because a lot of that special was focused around the Daleks and Dalek mania and everything that went on around those 6 parts. So if you want an interesting perspective on how this was made, I'd check that out. But I'm sure everyone has watched it at least at some point by now.
Yeah, they're keep talking.
It's interesting you say that, Connor, about Adventure in Time and Space. As we see excerpts of Dalek being made, we get the realization what colour the Daleks were. So they had blue sensor spheres and silver casing and all that. So it was nice to see that kind of perspective of Daleks in colour.
Yeah.
One other book that might help out, I've got it in my collection, didn't pull it today, but it's a book by Terry Nation that he did, which gives a timeline for the history of the Daleks, for everything up through Remembrance. So you get a chance, you might check Amazon, see if you can find it there. It's a pretty good book. It's the Dalek equivalent of the book, The Cyberman.
In contrast to the Dalek timeline, this story, this particular story, is supposed to be set right at the actual end of the Daleks' rule, just before. I don't know whether it's before Evil of the Daleks or after Evil of the Daleks. I'm not sure, but it says
timeline as far as Nation was concerned, this happened well before Evil of the Daleks.
Okay.
The other thing that was really interesting about this story was like that there was the Thals were all sexy 60s, you know, creatures, like with their pretty outfits and everything, and so like there was the Daleks that everybody focused on, but then, you know, there was always something, you know, snazzy and cool to the other life form on the planet was sexy and cool, and you know, that I just love that the difference between the two.
Beauty and the Beast, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next story that we're going to do is Edge of Destruction. Comes at the tail end of this and ends up in the TARDIS. So we'll watch that and read that and get back with you in a short while about that. And thank you, Jason. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Harry, for joining me and for watching it and letting us know what you think. And we'll do this again very soon. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Be ready next time.